You are 36, and you have $410,000 in investable assets. You are wearing a t-shirt you bought 11 years ago for $14. The watch on your wrist cost $40 and has kept correct time since the day you bought it. The phone in your pocket is 3 years old. The screen has a hairline crack in the corner you've stopped noticing, and it does everything you need it to do, which is the entire point of a phone. Your coworker has upgraded his phone 6 times in 10 years. He has a watch that cost $9,200. He has a closet that, by his own estimate during a conversation at a work event, represents somewhere around $60,000 in cumulative spending across a decade of releases, drops, and the specific anxiety of being seen in last season's version of something. Same salary, same decade, same city. By the end of this video, you'll definitely see that brand spending isn't really about the products. It's about a tax you pay for visibility, and most people don't realize they're paying it because the tax is disguised as a purchase. You'll find out exactly how much that tax costs over 10 years, and the number will be larger than you expect. This is your life if you ignore brands for a decade. Year 1. You are 26, and your phone breaks. Not catastrophically. The screen cracks after a drop on a tile floor, and the phone still works, every function intact, just with a spiderweb pattern in the corner of the display. Your coworkers react the way people react to a visible flaw in someone's possessions. A small wince, an offer of sympathy, an unspoken assumption that you'll fix it soon. You don't fix it. You also don't replace it with the newest model that released 6 weeks earlier, the one with the marginally better camera, and the design language everyone in the office has already adopted within days of release. You calculate the cost difference, $1,100 for the new model versus $0 for continuing to use the phone you have. And the calculation takes you 4 minutes and produces an answer you already suspected. You keep the phone. The watch question arrives differently. You've never worn one regularly, but a colleague's birthday gift exchange puts a $35 watch in your hands, and you start wearing it because it's already there and it tells time correctly. Another colleague notices it at lunch and asks, not unkindly, if you're going to upgrade eventually. You ask to what? He says something in the $400 range, entry level for the category everyone in finance seems to wear. You ask what it does that yours doesn't. He thinks about this for a moment longer than either of you expected and says it just looks better. You keep the $35 watch. You open a brokerage account the same month and set up an automatic transfer of $400 a month, money that, by your own rough accounting, represents roughly what an average professional in your position spends annually on brand-driven upgrades, distributed monthly instead of arriving as a single visible purchase. You write the number on the first page of a yellow legal pad, $1.19 from the pharmacy down the street. You don't write anything sentimental, just the number, the date, and the direction. The first rule. At year 1, the brand isn't selling you a product. It's selling you the absence of the specific discomfort of being seen without it. That discomfort is real. It is also temporary, and it gets cheaper every year you don't pay it. Year 2. The investment account has $5,600. A close friend invites you to his apartment for the first time since he moved. He bought a designer jacket for $680 2 months ago and mentions it twice during the visit. Not boastfully, just in the specific way people mention things they're still feeling the weight of having bought. You compliment it because it's a nice jacket, and your friend looks pleased in a way that has very little to do with the jacket and a great deal to do with being noticed. You think about this on the way home. The jacket costs $680. Your entire outerwear budget for the year has been $90, spent on a plain jacket from a store that doesn't advertise during football games. Nobody has complimented your jacket. You have also not thought about your jacket once since buying it, which feels, on reflection, like the actual goal of owning a jacket. $720 a month, 4th floor, no elevator, a kitchen window that faces a brick wall. The decision runs on the exact same logic as the phone and the watch. The difference between this apartment and a nicer one is $400 a month that can go somewhere else. And somewhere else is the brokerage account that's already showing you what $400 a month becomes when you leave it alone. This is also where the housing decision and the brand decision start to compound, rather than operate separately. Because the psychology underneath both is identical. I broke down the full 10-year math of choosing the cheapest apartment over a mortgage in the video appearing right now, including the exact dollar gap it produces against someone who buys a house at the same income level. But for now, let's stay with what happens to the brand question specifically as your income starts to grow. The second rule, at year 2, you start to notice that the things people show you they bought are rarely the things they talk about with real ease. Real ease is reserved for things they didn't have to think about buying. Year 3. You are 28 and you get a raise. The raise is meaningful, 11%, the kind of increase that arrives with a small celebratory lunch and an unspoken expectation from the culture around you that some portion of it will show up visibly. A new car, a better watch, a wardrobe refresh that announces the raise to anyone paying attention. You increase your investment contribution by exactly the amount of the raise's monthly impact, $310 more a month. The visible markers of your life do not change. Your watch is the same $35 watch from year 1, slightly worn at the strap. Your phone is the same phone, the crack in the corner now a familiar landmark rather than a flaw. A new coworker, meeting you for the first time, makes a comment about your phone in a tone that's almost concerned. You explain that it works fine. He says he could never. You ask why. He says he just couldn't, in a way that suggests the question has never actually been asked of the assumption underneath it. You attend a wedding. The reception parking lot is full of cars that cost more than your annual salary did at year 1. You wear the plain jacket from the store that doesn't advertise during football games. Nobody comments on it, which means nobody is thinking about you in relation to it, which is the specific freedom that the absence of brand signaling produces, and that almost nobody describes accurately because it sounds, when described, like deprivation rather than what it actually is. The investment account crosses $19,000. The third rule, at year 3, the raise tests whether the discipline was a phase or a structure. A phase ends, a structure compounds. Year 4. You are 29 and your phone finally dies. Not cracks, dies. The battery swelling and the screen going dark in a way that no amount of patience will reverse. You research the replacement with the same 4-minute calculation you ran at year 1, except now the calculation includes more data. You buy a mid-range model, 2 years behind the current flagship, for $280. It does everything the flagship does for anything you actually use a phone for. The camera is slightly less impressive in low light. You have never once needed a phone camera to be impressive in low light. You also buy your first new piece of clothing in 18 months that isn't a direct replacement for something worn through. A jacket, $120, from a brand nobody at your office would recognize, and that fits well enough that 2 people compliment it that week without knowing or asking what it cost. This is the part that surprises you. The compliments arrive at $120 the same way they would have arrived at $680. The jacket does not know its own price. Neither do the people complimenting it. Your investment account crosses $34,000. You also start a separate fund specifically for the apartment situation, building toward the eventual decision of whether to keep renting or buy, the same decision that the housing video walks through in full. What the 10-year math actually produces when you run both paths honestly instead of emotionally. The fourth rule. At year 4, you discover that the relationship between price and perceived quality, in the eyes of everyone around you, is far weaker than the brand has spent decades convincing you it is. Year 5. You are 31 and you've been with your partner for 2 years. She doesn't care about brands either, which you discovered slowly and with some relief, because it removed a category of friction that you'd watched destroy the budgets of 2 separate friends whose partners did not share their financial discipline. You combine finances. Combined investment contributions, $1,100 a month. A colleague's farewell party happens at a restaurant where the bill, split 8 ways, comes to $94 a person. You go. You order what you want. You don't think about the total relative to your income because the investment habit has been running long enough that an occasional $94 dinner doesn't threaten anything structural. This is the actual outcome of the discipline, and it's the part nobody mentions when they imagine a life of ignoring brands. It isn't a life of constant restriction. category that produces the least durable satisfaction per dollar, freeing up genuine ease everywhere else. Your combined investment account crosses $71,000. A friend asks, not unkindly, if you ever feel like you're missing out. You think about the question honestly before answering. You say you don't think about it much anymore, which is true, and which is itself the answer. Not that you've resisted wanting things, but that the wanting itself has quieted in a way that feels less like discipline now and more like the actual shape of your life. The fifth rule: at year 5, the absence of brand spending stops being a sacrifice you're making and becomes simply the way you live. The difference between those two states is most of the actual benefit. Year 7. You are 33 and you buy a watch. Not because the $35 watch broke, it still works, but because your partner, for your birthday, gives you a watch that costs $310, a real purchase she thought carefully about. The first non-functional luxury item either of you has bought in 7 years of disciplined accumulation. You wear it. You feel something about it that surprises you. Not guilt, not indulgence anxiety, just a clean, simple pleasure in a well-made object given by someone who knows you. This is the watch industry's actual argument, buried under a decade of marketing noise. A well-made object can be a genuine source of satisfaction. The industry's failure is convincing people that satisfaction requires the price tag to be visible to strangers. Your combined investment accounts, including the apartment fund and retirement contributions, cross $156,000. The sixth rule: at year 7, you learn that the problem was never the object. The problem was buying the object to solve a problem the object was never built to solve. Year 10. You are 36, and you have $410,000 in investable assets. You are wearing the t-shirt from 11 years ago. The $310 watch from your partner sits on your wrist, the only piece of jewelry you own, worn daily, meaning more to you than anything that cost 10 times as much would have meant arriving without a story attached. The phone in your pocket is 3 years old. Your coworker, the one with 6 phone upgrades and the $9,200 watch, and the closet worth $60,000 in cumulative spending, has a net worth, by his own admission during a candid conversation at a different work event, of around $61,000. Same salary as you for the entire decade. Same opportunities. A completely different number, sitting on the other side of 10 years of decisions about what to do with the gap between income and spending. You sit at your kitchen table. The apartment is better now. Not luxurious, but better. The math from the rent decision having freed up enough capital over the years to upgrade modestly without disrupting the investment habit. The legal pad is on its 11th volume. Same brand, same pharmacy, same $1.19. You write the number, $410,000. And below it, you write the decade's accumulated total of what you didn't spend on the watches, the phones, the closet refreshes you opted out of. The number is $94,000, conservatively. The number you actually have is $410,000, because the $94,000 was invested rather than spent, and 10 years of compounding turned $94,000 into more than 4 times itself. Somewhere right now, someone is standing in a store deciding whether to buy the newest version of something they already own a working version of. The decision feels small. It feels like nothing, the way every individual decision like this feels like nothing. It is not nothing. It is the only decision that actually matters, made repeatedly, for 10 years, while everyone around you mistakes the visible markers of spending for the invisible markers of wealth. The phone in your pocket has a crack in the corner. You've stopped noticing it. That's the whole story.